Welcome to Saturday Morning Talk Show, Spilling the Tea to Juliet G. It's every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. GMT time.
With your boo, I can vouch for my crew. I'm telling you, and to they do lifestyle of a group. Make you dance, not they look, then go they look, then go they look. And say if it's not enough, if I do 99 good, it go remain one. Don't know how to show you my love without fucking up, but I can buy you a new baby, straight from me, Juliet. Baby, trabaye, make you know they shall like. I don't want nobody to keep my matter killing. For this life I day, I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my days, I want to spend them on enjoyment. It's been too long, but then it's you. Only one of you, everyday party. I take tramadol. Don't want to feel nothing at all. Okay. You like Ojuju Calabar. Give me moral like I be bouncer. Paragon. Take me higher, don't want to land. Up till now I don't understand the why. No matter what I do, it's not enough. If I do 99 good, it go remain one. Don't know how to show you my love without fucking up. But I am faded. Trabalhar, make you know they shall lie. I don't want nobody to keep my matter killing. For this life I day, I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my days, I want to spend them on enjoyment. Baby, trabalhar, make you know they shall lie. I don't want nobody to keep my matter killing. For this life I day, I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my days, I want to spend them on enjoyment. It's been too long, but then it's you. Only one of you, everyday party.
Morning, everybody. And guess what time it is? It's spilling the tea time. Yes, it's your host, Juliet G. It's a super Saturday. So let's start the way. Let's start the right way. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it's early in the morning, but never mind. For those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, welcome. And now, you know what? This is going to be your regular thing to do every Saturday morning between the hours of 8 and 10. So, Tune in to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G on your number one community radio station, Supreme FM, of course, to the rest of the world. No matter what part of the world you are tuning in from, north, south, east, or west, for the next couple of hours, your host, where I converse with real people and get them to spill that tea. And that's a T with a double E, and get them to talk their truth. Now, I'd like to thank my guest last week, Mr. Lee Townsend, for our monthly community updates. And also, I'd like to thank Jeff Schumann for coming on last minute. And a big thank you to Jeff, who joined me on the live Thursday night as we covered the topic, Does Size Really Matter? And to all the people that showed up, thank you. Plus, I'd also like to apologize to anyone that took the subject matter to offense. It was not meant to offend anybody. Whilst I'm on the subject of thank yous, I'd like to thank the contributors and sponsors of my show, Supreme FM, Fine Boy Inc. and Martin Winter of James Shoe Care in Barkingside. Now, today is week 13. It better be week 13 of the Coinage Crew. There are 4 ways to save. And this week, we are putting away £13, making a grand total saving of £91. Or you can save backwards and you're putting away £40, making a grand saving total of £598. Or you can do it monthly and put away £114.83 for the month of April. Oh my God, it's Pinch Punch first day of the month. Yes. Oh my days, sorry. Yes. And that's for the month of April, making a grand total of £459.36 or £26.50, an even amount every week, making a total of £344.50. So however you choose to save, the end result will still be the same. So by the 30th of December 2023, we would gonna have a grand saving total of £1,378 in the bank. You don't have to give it to anyone or even tell anyone or let anyone know. Just put it in a tin, a jar, or even an old socks. Not a smelly socks, an old socks without a hole preferably, and put it away. As they say, it's not too late to save, as a small drop makes a mighty ocean. So let's make a difference to our financial situation and keep saving. Attention, people, guess what? I only had one person, yes, one person. I'm going to put that on pause, yes. I only had one young person that submitted their entry for the monthly challenge, and her name is Roche Hope. She is 11 years old, and she voice noted it to me. So I want you to take a listen, yeah. Here goes, guys. Oops, it would help if I... Oops. I'm losing the plot. Sorry. I need to start again. on. Hold on a sec, guys. Hold on. Just having some technical issues. You know me and tech. We don't agree. I'm going to get this working. So just bear with me. Bear with. Right. Just bear with me. I am so sorry. As I said, I am so not technical. But guess what I'm going to do? I know how to sort it out. Oops. Nope. It's not even going to work out that way. Just bear with me. Oh, well, I'm sorry. It looks like I'm not going to be able to play it. Oh, if I can play it later on, I will do. Anyway, as I was saying earlier, she was the only person. So well done, Roche. You have a £15 gift voucher on your way to you and a certificate. So, at the end of the year, she is going to be in the running for the trophy, a £50 gift voucher, and a certificate. So hopefully we'll get some more competitors and they will all go head to head with Roche in December, so there is time to redeem yourself. So if you would like to be a winner like Roche, who is of primary school age, let me remind you what you need to do. Now, the monthly challenge with a twist, there are 2 categories, one for primary school and one for secondary school. So all you have to do is write a story, be creative, write a story or a poem about anything of your choice. Yeah? And you have to voice note it to me via email, and the voice note shouldn't be no longer than 3 minutes long. Each monthly winner will win a £15 gift voucher and a certificate, and at the end of the year, on the 23rd of December, all the monthly winners will battle it out to win that all-important trophy, which is being sponsored again by Martin Winter of James Shoe Care, and a certificate and a £50 gift voucher, which will be decided by you, the listeners. Yes, gonna get you guys involved again. So be creative. You can use sound effects like Roche did. At some point, I will try and get it on today. If not today, it'll definitely be next week. So we won't have this technical issue. I'm so sorry. So make sure you send your full name and age with your voice note to the email address of stt2jg@gmail.com. That's stt2jg@gmail.com. So get your entries in, and the closing date for April is the 29th of April. And the winners will be decided by you, the listeners. So, hope it all makes sense. Check out my Insta and Facebook page for full details. Now, just some community news and information. Don't forget, today is the Caribbean Takeover at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And this is a free event. And whoever's going, you're going to be in for a treat. Now, Grief in the Black Community, Hush Harbour, is a free online event which is being hosted on Wednesday, the 19th of April from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Now, this event will be looking at Black funerals, the rites, the practices, the rituals, and the relationship with death. Now, because of the sensitivity of the topic, the organizers ask that you make an informed decision when choosing to book. Okay? Now, a reminder, all young Black, Asian, minority, ethnic individuals and women, if you're interested in a career in becoming an airline pilot or any aspects of the aviation industry, check out Fantasy Wings in partnership with British Airways and NATS. Registrations for 2023 to 2024 program is now open. So you can check out www.fantasy, that's FANTASY, wings, all one word, .co.uk. If you are interested, you've got nothing to lose, just go for it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So good luck and let Auntie know if you do. BT Aleto leadership programs are looking for young people between the ages of 17 to 27 years of age who are interested in a career in the tech industry. But if you're not sure where to start, they are offering a 4-day training opportunity in central London. Yeah, it's in central London during the 4 days, and you will get an understanding of how to develop your leadership skills, understanding the roles of technology, developing your personal brand, and solving a BT business challenge and grow your own network. This program transforms life. So, as I say, what have you got to lose? What an opportunity. So, are you a DJ or presenter looking to join our ever-growing #1 community radio station? Why don't you contact the Supreme FM management team on 07944 795 072. That's 07944 795 072. And there are plenty of events and places of entertainment to go to. If you're planning on going out but not sure where to go, just check out the Supreme FM business page on Insta or Facebook. And also, don't forget to download the Supreme FM app via your app store. Just type in Supreme FM and boom, will just appear. And you can take us anywhere in the world and see what you have been missing. So if you're going shopping, you can take us with you. If you're going in the car, you can take us with you. If you're going on holiday, you can take us with you. You can take us. So I'd like to big up to Miss Polly, the Supreme FM Medium Manager. And if you've got any community information you'd like to share, just DM me. Just before I go, I'd like to bring on my big sister Son with her prayer, because you know I like to start my show with a prayer. So let's get this show on the road.
Dear Lord God, Heavenly Father, as we come together again today, this morning, to listen in to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, and as we listen in to our special guest that will update us on the things that are important at a time in our life when we're most vulnerable, when we're most susceptible, when we don't know what decisions to make. Continue to watch over her, continue to watch over them, continue to be with them, dear Lord God, with the good work that the two of them do independently for the community, and look how they've come together to serve the community. So to continue to watch over us as the guests, as we listen in to Spilling the Tea, and continue to watch over everybody that contributes to the behind the scenes work with Supreme. Dear Lord, as we go about our business today, continue to give us the opportunity to be generous in thought, generous in heart, and generous in spirit. As we come to a time where we have to look and think about others, give us the strength, the opportunity to be still and put people first. So, dear Lord, as we listen to the stories, we listen to the experience, I supersize this prayer and say, watch over Maxine, watch over Juliet, watch over all that they do. These few words I lift up to you because Scripture says, ask anything in thy name and I will give it. And this is what I'm asking of you today. In Jesus' name, amen.
This world, I can take it. Although, Lord, you told me to shake it off. But it's hard to do when temptation is standing right in front of you. I need you to hold my hand and help me to understand. Tell me, Lord, that it's okay. Through all of my mistakes, tell me it's okay. Things are gonna work out. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. Tell me everything is okay. Yeah. Tell me it's okay when I go through all of my mistakes. Yeah. Tell me it's okay when I don't think things are gonna work out. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. When I try to do the things that you want me to. Lord, it's so hard. Lord, it's so hard. I try my best, oh Lord, to pass that test. But you help me, Lord, so I need you to tell me it's okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, tell me it's okay. Lord, when I'm going through, tell me it's okay. Oh, Lord, tell me it's okay. When I don't realize I'm gonna make it. Tell me it's okay when I don't think things are gonna work out. Tell me it's okay. yeah. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. Tell me.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. And if you're just tuning in, welcome. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest, Mrs. Maxine Edgar, Funeral Director of Bronze Ash Funerals. Welcome back, Maxine. Welcome back.
Morning, Juliet. God bless. Good morning to you, and thanks for the privilege of having me come back on your show yet again.
Yeah.
It's just always a pleasure.
This morning, you're going to be bringing awareness amongst our community about the pitfalls of the funeral process and when things don't run smoothly, from the coroners, what they do, what happens, and who takes the body away, plus the body getting into the wrong hands, and so on and so forth. I mean, wow, But anyway, as I say, before we get into it, because, we do have new listeners, and I know you've been on before, but as we do have new listeners, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, just briefly, for those that are just tuning in for the first time and are just hearing Maxine, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so my name's Maxine Edgar. I am a funeral director. We are a small independent company. We are called Bronze Ash Funerals, and we're located in East London. When I say East London, it's actually Romford, in Essex, just around the corner to Queen's Hospital. I'm a funeral director. I'm an arranger. I'm a celebrant. I take ceremonies. Some call us ministers. I have a passion for the living, and I have a passion for the dead. And I think those are the qualities that you need to be successful, not only as a funeral director, but in life. To be successful, you have to have a love for people. And I thrive on that, and good communication skills. So we're building up. We're 5 years old, and we're doing what we can within our community. And I say within our community, yes, I want to raise awareness amongst our people, because I think we need teaching. There's a changing face in funerals whereby people have more of a hands-on approach. There's more transparency. We're being more open and honest, and people are given a choice, and I think choice is paramount.
Absolutely.
What more can you do for a family at this time in life? When there's a death, what more can we do?
Exactly.
But to honour the family and honour the deceased.
So, Maxine, can you talk us through what one needs to be aware of when someone dies at home, like the coroner? What is the coroner's role? And
okay, well, what happens is, if a person dies at home, we've got two sides. We've got an expected death and an unexpected death. So an expected death is where a person is expected to die. The doctor has been around them, the notes are up to date, we know the person's terminally ill, they may have gone home to die, or maybe at home, maybe on respite. We are expecting them to die, all right? Armed with that knowledge, there should be arrangements in place. However, if there is an unexpected death, and an unexpected death can occur when a person is terminally ill, but may not have seen their doctor within 28 days. We call that an unexpected death. Or if someone is found dead, someone is murdered, suspicious circumstances, a road traffic accident, even in a hospital, if someone dies, in hospital or during an operation, an unexpected death, then a coroner will be called in, yeah?
Okay.
So let's say, for argument's sake, someone dies at home, it's an unexpected death. Well, the police will be called, and there will be a series of questions that the person who finds them or the person who is there will have to answer, yeah? The problem with the unexpected death is that once the body is released, they will go to the coroner. The coroner is there. The role of the coroner is to try to determine the cause of death. All right? So, what will happen is they will go to the coroner. Coroner will look at their medical records, will consult with their doctor, yeah? Try to establish the cause of death. Once they have contacted a doctor or have established some kind of source, they will then decide whether or not a post-mortem will take place. Just because you go to the coroner doesn't mean to say that the coroner's office, rather, does not mean to say there will be a post-mortem. Yeah? Depends on the paper trail, all right?
Okay.
So, things can happen. If there's not going to be a post-mortem, they will release the body. Yeah? If there is a post-mortem, they will take the body and they will carry out their investigations. And a number of things can happen underneath that. Number one, they can determine the cause of death. Number two, they will take samples, to try to determine the cause of death. Number three, they will hold on to the body. Yeah? Having taken samples, they'll release the body for burial, yeah, with the family's permission. But number three, they may hold on to the body. Number four, they may never find the cause of death. And I tell families this all the time, just because they've taken samples, yeah, just because they've carried out a post-mortem, doesn't mean to say they're going to find the cause of death. Sometimes it remains inconclusive, even when it's obvious. We had a young lady that was bipolar. Bipolar, didn't eat for 7 days, didn't sleep for 7 days, had a heart attack and died. Still cannot find out the cause of death. I have a gentleman with me who has been murdered. They have the person who they believe has murdered the gentleman. However, they cannot establish the cause of death. All right? So I always tell my families, just because they have carried out a post-mortem does not mean to say we will ever know the cause of death. Just hold on. The coroner is totally neutral. Bearing in mind that I can walk into a room and find a loved one dead, phone police. I could have murdered them. Yeah, I could have been the murderer. I could have put something in the tea or in the coffee, to be honest. And that is why the coroner has to try to at least be neutral in finding out the cause of death. We have to be mindful of that. But if we just go back a bit,
yeah, go ahead.
and I think what you were asking is taking the body away. Now, in these circumstances, we have what we call contractors, usually the bigger firms. And if you have, and most of the time people don't, especially if it's an unexpected death, if you don't have a funeral director in place, someone dies, it's 2:00 in the morning, you're in your grief, the coroner will refer you to a local funeral director who has the contract to remove the deceased. Yeah? Now, what we need to be mindful of, the contractor is paid by the local authority. That is their role. Yeah, they're on call and they are there to remove the deceased. This is in the event of A, the family not having anything in place, or B, and it can happen, the family not being able to locate their chosen or preferred funeral director. All right? However, there may be situations whereby the coroner may refer you to their preferred funeral director who does not have the contract. It's very subtle, yeah, without going into it. It's very subtle, but they have their, go to this one will be better for you. This one is well known within the area. This one has, great reviews.
Yeah.
And when you're vulnerable in your grief, when you're confused, when you don't know what to do, quite often you will go with that preferred funeral director, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll wake up the next day, or if you sleep, and you'll speak to someone and they'll say to you, oh, but, we used such and such up the road and they were really, really good and they were great, and you want to see if you can move your mum. Move your mum. Don't use that one.
Mm.
You'll phone them up and they'll say, well, you did instruct us.
Mm.
You did instruct us, and unfortunately we do charge a fee for removing the deceased.
Can I just ask a question? You said that the when the body is taken away, yeah?
Yes.
And then they refer them to a contractor, or if they
That's
don't
the
have
contractor.
the contractor. Who pays for that?
When it's a contractor, the contractor will still try it. The contractor will still say to the funeral director, let's say, for argument's sake, we had a situation whereby we were asked to remove the deceased from the contractor who had initially removed the deceased when the person died, yeah? The family were advised to they weren't advised, the contractor came, took the body, and then they came to us and said, oh, but your fees are a couple of £1,000 cheaper than the person that's taken the body. Can you go and get the body? We phoned them up and they said, well, we've had the body 3 days. We did remove the body. So we want a fee of 300 and whatever pounds it was. Mm. Yeah? I've gone back to the family. I've said, well, they're charging this. Just let me know. How did this happen? Who advised you to go to them? Was this FD, when I say FD, it means funeral director, was the FD your choice? And they said no, that we were advised to go with them because we didn't have anything in place and they have the contract. Okay, so I've gone back to them. I've said, well, I'm going to remove the body. As far as I know, you have the contract. Mm-hmm. This is your job. You're already paid by the council and my man's on his way to get the body, end of. However, I could have easily paid that and charge the family, without knowing. This was when we first started. Yeah. I could easily have said, okay, we're going to get the body and charge the family on my final bill to them, yeah? That's if you don't have the wherewithal, all right? So that's with the contractor. You don't have to pay them. Right. Yeah, you don't have to pay the contractor. However, if you have instructed an FD that doesn't have the contract, then there is a cost. Yeah. Because they've come out on the basis of you instructing them. Yeah. All right? Mm-hmm. So remember, you've got the contractor or you have the preferred funeral director that the coroner may have chosen. Are you with me? Mm. If you go with the preferred funeral director, then there will be a cost. Okay. All right? The contractor's obligated to remove. They are paid by the council. They have that contract, usually the big boys. But the one that the coroner may say to you, well, if you don't have one, use this one, instruct this one, you will be expected. Because it costs. Yeah. It costs me to send my guys out to go and collect a body, yeah? Right. All right? So we have to be really, really mindful.
So if a person has their package in place, yes, their funeral already sorted, then that would be already, that's for the funeral director to go out and get the body, yeah?
Yes, so let's say...
Or the contractor has to send the body to the funeral director, is that right?
Well, no, two ways, you're absolutely right. So you can phone your preferred funeral director and you may not get an answer, it does happen. Yeah. 2 o'clock in the morning, they may not be on call. Something can happen, yeah? So the contractor can take the body away, all right? Mm-hmm. Then 9 o'clock the next day, you can phone your preferred funeral director, say, I didn't get you. However, the body's over with such and such, Jones and Co, let's say. Can you go and collect, yeah? It's at that juncture that your preferred funeral director can call Jones and Co and say, we're coming to collect Mrs. Smith.
Right, okay.
And the contractor can say, well, we've collected, there's a charge, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And your preferred will say, well, you got the contract, mate. There is no charge. Are you with me? So that's when you have a preferred...
The contractors try it, basically.
Sorry? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Contractors try it. They try it.
But they're already paid, aren't they? They're paid by the council. So they're basically...
Yeah, but you're vulnerable. You don't know that. It's a business for them as well. And the reality is, we as human beings don't want our loved ones dragged all over the place.
Yes.
Our minds, we're still attached to that body, to that person. Yeah? So I've had a couple of people. Last week we had a phone call. We want to instruct you, but they've already been taken by so-and-so up the road. We want to go with you. So you give them all the information and they come back and they say, you know what, we really like you, we like your prices, we like what you offer, but I don't really want to move my dad. He's already with the contractor. Yeah. So the whole idea is, and I think what people fail to understand is that this is a business.
Yeah.
Sounds absolutely awful, but it is a business.
Yeah.
The business of death.
Yeah.
Yeah? And so the idea, the strategy is that once we have that body, they're not going to want to move it. Yeah. They'll stay with us. Yeah? So we'll remove the body, we'll keep and whoever phones up as another FD, we'll try and match their price, or we'll try and persuade the family, to remain with us. Yeah? Okay. So they have their strategies and they'll match prices. We have, I've got a lady that does my flowers beautifully, and she's from Wolverhampton. And she came in and she saw a wonderful coffin. And she said, I'm arranging a funeral in Wolverhampton. She didn't even think to ask us because we have contacts in Wolverhampton. She said, I'm arranging a funeral in Wolverhampton. I really, really like that casket, Maxine, for this person. I said, well, I can get you that. I can get you that at cost price. It's not a problem. Because if you want that same casket, I can tell you now you'll pay double. And so she's gone to the funeral director over in Wolverhampton and said, this is the casket that we're going to use. And I did say to her, ask them if they charge a handling fee, because that's where funeral directors make their money on the coffins and the casket. I said, ask them first if they charge a handling fee, because it's a loss. If someone brings a coffin in, it's a loss to them. That's their biggest markup. And same day, like I'm not a funeral director. But that's the biggest markup, the coffin. And they were really unhappy about it. And they said, well, show us the coffin, let us know the price, and we will match it. Yeah, we will match the price that your funeral director or your friend is offering. So it's the business. And I mean, whatever price they wanted to match, it still would not have been as cheap as I got the coffin for her. So, people are flexible, but the reality here is that we need to raise the awareness of what you can and can't do. You can buy your own coffin, as long as it's, if it's a cremation coffin, it must meet the standards, it must meet the guidelines, but you can buy your own coffin, you're free to do that, and this is what I'm trying to raise that awareness. It's aggro because you've got to get it delivered, and some companies will only deliver to funeral directors and not personal. Some funeral directors charge a handling fee. But it is what it is.
Do people, when you say deliver to people, do they deliver to people's houses and they just keep them? They keep them in the garage or something?
Yeah, I mean, some people I've seen where people have brought coffins for like dad and granddad, and they've changed their minds on the design. And people are really, really practical about death. You'd be really surprised. Some people have got the whole thing laid out, the clothes, the whatever, the coffin, almost as though they're preparing, you know, for a wedding. So you'd be really, really surprised. And yes, they do. People have it, box it up, and sometimes when, you know, they've had it so long it's out of fashion or out of design, they're selling them cheaply. So they sell it off. Never been used. Well, I should hope so, you know, but yes, they do.
Second-hand coffins. No, I guess that's the way forward. So, what happens when the deceased has nothing in place?
Okay.
Do you know what? We're actually coming up to that all-important community break. But the question that I want to ask you when we come back is what happens when the deceased has nothing in place, you know?
Okay, that's fine.
So we'll just wait till after the break, and then when you come back, yeah?
Right.
Brilliant. Welcome back to Supreme FM. This morning I'm in conversation with Maxine Edgar, funeral director of Bronze Ash Funerals. And Maxine and I, well, in fact, Maxine's doing the talking. We're talking about the pitfalls of the funeral process, and when things don't run smoothly, what happens from the coroners, what you do, what happens, who takes away the body, plus the body getting into the wrong hands, and so on and so forth. So, Maxine, before we went to break, I asked you the question. Maxine?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. Sorry. It would help if I had the headphones on.
Oh, yes.
Because it was on. Anyway, never mind. So what happens when the deceased has nothing in place, like money, burial, or cremation? Because, you know, they might want to cremate their loved one. What happens?
Oh, gosh. Well, the first thing that you said was money, and money is the biggest problem. Money's the biggest problem, but obviously it's a community thing. I have to be really, really honest. When nothing's in place, then one member of the family has to be the arranger, all right? One member of the family has to step forward and make the decisions, all right? Which can cause problems, but there is usually one.
Maxine, I need to interject. So, if a person like the deceased has already organized their funeral, there's no need for an arranger, is there?
Well, if they've already, you still need someone to step forward, because you can write everything down, but that has to be communicated to the funeral director.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
Money still has to be released. Death certificate. The person who registers the death, the informant, it's normally that particular person. And there are also rules and guidelines to who registers the death. Ideally, someone who was present when the person dies, someone who lived at the address. The funeral director can now register the death. A coroner can register the death, or a close family member. All right?
Okay.
The informant, that person's called the informant. They would normally be the one who steps up and arranges the funeral, but it's still a group effort. I mean, if the person dies and they've got everything in place, the family would still make arrangements around the wishes. We call it a letter of wishes of the person who has died. Yeah. So times would need to be arranged at the cemetery if it's a burial. They'd still need to arrange the program, even though the program's in place. So it's that kind of thing. And as some people arrange their funerals beautifully from beginning to end. Yeah, I want this colour, I want these songs, ideally in the morning. I want this minister or this celebrant. I want this coffin. You know, some people do the whole lot. But some people just do the fundamentals. I want to go to such and such church. I don't want a coffin. I want a casket, or I want a wicker.
What's the difference between a coffin and a casket?
Well, if I can be graphic, Dracula comes out of a coffin.
Say that again?
Dracula comes out of a coffin. The coffin's got all the different sizes. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Whereas the casket are the bigger boxes, 4 sides, very American, very glossy. You can have metal caskets. You can have wooden caskets. They open halfway. Although you can get a full couch that opens. I've got a lady here with me now, Chinese lady. They have what they call the full couch, what completely opens at the top. So you see the full body. I mean, they all open at the top, but some of them, just the half, those are the caskets.
Okay.
They're heavier. You'll find that many cemeteries will charge more for a casket because it's a bigger size. They're 7 foot long, 30 wide, which is the maximum. So it's a deeper and a bigger dig. So you can pay anything like £600 extra if you're having a casket, which is a lot of money. If you're already buying a casket, which can be anything up to £3,000. Well, I mean, you can have a casket for £30,000. It's entirely up to you. But on average, you're talking a couple of £1,000. Yeah? Yeah. So, I mean, if someone dies and nothing's in place, so someone will step up. If there's no money, which is even more of a problem, then no money, the person who's arranging the funeral, dependent upon their circumstances, could put in an application for a funeral grant from the DWP. However, they would need to meet the criteria, and this is what's important. A lot of people phone me up and they say, "Oh, but we can't put in for the funeral grant," and I'll say, "Well, it's not just, you know, it's almost as though it's an entitlement. You know, oh, but we don't have no money. No. So I'll say to them, well, who's arranging the funeral? Are they on universal credit? Are they on housing benefit? Do they meet the criteria? And I will send them the link. Is there any money? The person that has died, do they have a bank account? Is there any money? Do you have any money? You know, it's all very well you putting in for the DWP funeral grant, but the person who has died may have had a son or a daughter. You may have a sibling who was working, but living in the house with the person that has died. The DWP will find them. So it's not as straightforward as that. So the DWP will help. They will pay for the cost of the funeral. Now, if it's a cremation, they will pay for the cost of the cremation plus £1,000 on top. So let's say on average £2,000. All right. If it's a burial, they will pay the cost of the cheapest burial, the cheapest grave. And when I say the cheapest, not the pauper's grave as they call it, but the reclaimed grave is a grave that's been reclaimed, that's been used before. The lease has expired. They've removed the contents, if any, and they have reclaimed the land. So a reclaimed grave. They will pay for the cheapest reclaimed grave nearest to where you live. So whilst you may find a grave for £6,000, they will find the grave nearest, the cheapest reclaimed grave in your area or nearest in proximity to your home, plus £1,000. So if that grave is £4,000, they'll pay the 4 plus £1,000 on top. With that, you can take the money and buy whatever grave you wish to buy. However, you would have to find the difference. So just because they based it on the cheapest reclaimed grave nearest to you, if you choose to go to another borough and buy a grave for £7,000, bearing in mind you said you didn't have any money, you can do that, but you would have to find the difference. Yeah, quite often, and this is one of the problems that I have, quite often people will come to me and say, well, we don't have any money, and I don't know if it's I'm a soft touch or if I'm a woman, but all this has got to stop. It's a new tax year. And I'm still learning. It's very, very difficult. But they'll come to me, they'll say, oh, we don't have any money, we're struggling, and I'll work with them. They'll put in an application for the DWP, or if they don't have the DWP, which is worse, because there are people who work that don't have much money after they've paid their bills, I'll work with them. And then they'll turn up and they'll say, oh, can we have horses?
I shouldn't even laugh.
You know what? You shouldn't, but you have to because it's laughable. Can we have horses? And, you know, we had a situation not too long ago where
some people will say their chest is high.
Their chest is high, but they're brazen. Brazen. Because the reality is you've come to me and you've said, we don't have any money, we're actually struggling, we may do a GoFundMe, which I have no problem with. I have no problem with people coming together to pay, even though we're big people and we've got programs like this that are saying get your house in order. I have no problem with that, where your money comes from. And then you'll say, all right, I'll work something out with you. You work something out with them. Then they ask for horses. Then they ask for a particular coffin, which is fine. Not based on the coffin that you've offered them for your budget, but something further down the road, more elaborate. Then they'll add to that. Then they decide, oh, we'll have some doves. Then it gets bigger and bigger. You've reduced your fee or you've helped them based on the initial agreement. Then they add. And then we had a situation whereby, you know, you ask for the money like 7 days beforehand. Someone will phone up and say, oh, we don't have all the money. The insurance that we thought we was going to get, we're not going to get. Or when my granddad died, the money came off of the house, and you know. And then you say, well, sorry, I've reduced the fee next to nothing. Either you pay, or I can't do the funeral because this is a business. I can't do. I've given you my heart and my soul. You want my kidneys and my lungs. You're having a laugh, mate. You know, and at that juncture, they will, because it has happened, take the body, remove the body from you, get another FD to remove the body from you, and go and pay them more. So, you know, there is a general trend amongst us whereby the more you give, the more they want. But the one time you say, well, no, sorry, they go elsewhere. People have an issue with pain. So it's important that we have things in place, The DWP will pay if you meet the criteria. And I have a couple of charities that I use that are really exhaustive, but they also will assist. I always ask that you allow me to sit with you and do the DWP application.
Yeah.
Because often people do them wrong and they're very cutthroat. They will help you and they will. However, you make one mistake, the application will not go through, and if you appeal, it can take forever.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that. There is usually help, because even with the charities, you don't need to be on a benefit. It's advisable that you're on a lower income or you've got less disposable income, because death is expensive.
Very.
It's expensive to die, you know. One of the things, Juliet, is that we get our priorities right. And I spoke to a lady this week, and we did her sister's funeral, and they were okay. They had, you know, enough money to have a lovely funeral for her sister and a reception. But one of the things she said that I said to her in the very beginning of everything was, work on your ceremony. Give them a wonderful ceremony. The drinks and the food and the reception and the sound, it's nice. It's lovely. It's a time of fellowship. It's a time of grief. It's a time of coming together. It's wonderful. However, nothing beats a fantastic ceremony.
Yeah.
Where people leave a funeral almost as though they've been to the theatre, because that's what death is. It's a performance.
Yeah.
The whole funeral is a performance. From walking in with the car, the hearse arriving, the beautiful flowers, the wonderful coffin, you know, the whole thing is a performance. And it helps the grieving process when you can go into any building, may it be a church or the town hall, wherever, a marquee, people are sat there, and you are performing, you are creating an event for the person that has died, and they leave that place knowing more about the person in their death than they did in their life. Yeah, it's your ceremony. And so when people come to me and say, oh, we don't have enough money to pay for the funeral, and I'm just taking the drinks to the hall, or the caterer's been paid, or the venue's been paid. Everything's been paid. Soundman's been paid. Yeah? And I'm here with a body that I've had. My arms hurt, my clothes smell, you know, we've had to disinfect floors. You know, it can be, I can't explain to you the work that we do. You know, you see the finished product, if I can say that. You can see sometimes the work of art.
Yeah.
You know, the time and the effort that's been put into ensuring that the loved one looks, you know, acceptable for the family.
Yeah.
It doesn't start like that. People come into us and it's all so sad. We look at them and sometimes we cry. What is man? When someone comes in from the mortuary in a bag and in pieces, I've had a torso in one bag and legs in another bag, you know, and you try your best to present it to the family, and you don't want to pay. You don't want to, you know, you don't honour that service. It's really, really hurtful, but it's also indicative of who we are as people.
Yeah.
When the drinks and the party is more important, you know, than paying for the funeral director, with which you wouldn't have a funeral.
Maxine, at what point does the next of kin come into play?
Well, next of kin can be quite contentious. Next of kin in the hospital, if a person dies, ends at the hospital. You know, next of kin, for instance, an individual can be married. The individual can be married, we've had it here, but estranged from their partner. And the partner can step up to the plate and say, I'm organising the funeral. Whereas the person can be in hospital and the children or whatever around them, the partner not there, but once the person dies, well, I'm still the wife, I'm still the husband, I am the next of kin. And this happens a lot. So this is why it's important that we have these conversations, and that people get their house in order. And even next of kin, I've heard people say to me, oh, you know, I'll give you an example. I got a phone call the other day. This funeral bill, the person that died has a house, and they've not lived in the house for like 20 years. But can the funeral be paid off of the house? That's what we're banking on. So, i.e., this house, which isn't on the market, and the people who live in the house don't know that the house is going to be sold, but the funeral director, a week before the funeral, has to wait until the house is sold because that's what they're banking on. And so whilst I was out of my depth, I said to them, well, to be honest, I'm not really interested in where the money comes from, but your funeral invoice needs to be paid 7 days before the funeral. And it has to be paid 7 days before the funeral because there's always a problem. Always a problem. And I don't think that house is going to be sold within 7 days of the funeral. I said, but not only that, you're saying that the person that has died has a house. That's on the back of what the person has said after they've had to leave the home 20 years ago. You do not know the basis on which that house was purchased. Was it tenants in common, or was it joint beneficiaries? If it's joint beneficiaries, yes, fair enough, they may have a share of the house. But if it's tenants in common, they may not absolutely have any right to anything. They may have a share or no share. So, at the end of the day, whatever happens there, that's actually your business. I'm just giving you a bit of information to look into. But, 7 days before the funeral, and I don't think I should be told this 7 days, a week before the funeral, that's how you intend to pay. But that's your business anyway. I'll still remind you, pay the invoice 7 days before the funeral. So get your house in order, get your information together. And I have to reiterate, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to have a funeral. Yeah. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money to have a funeral. There are ways that you can have a wonderful funeral without spending the earth. And I try to tell people this all the time.
It's like a wedding, You don't have to spend a lot of money on a wedding.
No. And still have a wonderful wedding.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as a celebrant, I'm a trained celebrant, in organising funerals. And that's one of the things that I say to people. I mean, we had one last year, well-known person, and I mean, they gave me, I paid for everything. Nearly everything. They gave me £50,000. Yeah, they gave me £50,000 to pay for everything. I mean, you're talking about the caterers, the venue, the flowers, my work.
But that £50,000 depends on how many people they're expecting.
And also the quality.
Exactly.
If you're looking at a £10,000 venue, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
However, you say that, but, we have caterers that I have a caterer that can provide the same amount of people, half what they chose to pay, because I didn't choose that caterer. So what I'm saying is, I probably could have done the same thing with a quarter of that money and got the same result. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's only a choice, to be honest, if you have the money. If you don't have the money, then you don't have any choice. Do you understand? So it's all about money. But that £50,000, yes, it was well spent. It was absolutely amazing. But I could have arranged the same thing for a quarter of the money and got the same result.
Well, guess what?
And so be mindful of that.
We are actually coming up to another break, and the time just seems to be flying, and I have got loads of questions. Maxine, do you know what? I'm going to have to ask you to do a part 2 at some point. But
I think it'll be part 4, won't it?
Part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part whatever.
We keep going.
But you know what? This is important information that people need to be aware of, because when death is something that we don't talk about and we shy away from. So, and I think it's important that it is covered, and some people might say it's morbid, but you know what? It's a fact of life. So,
yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, when we come back after the break, I've got some more questions for you.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. And if you are just tuning in, morning and welcome. And I am in conversation with Maxine Edgar, funeral director of Bron Ash Funerals. Now, Maxine, I know this is the last segment of the show. And there's just been so many questions that I want to ask you. And I don't, where's the time gone? Where
I know,
has
so
the
quickly.
time gone? Anyway, the question that I do want to ask you is, you know, you spoke about the next of kin, and when the deceased, that's before the break, you spoke about the next of kin coming into play. Now, when the deceased doesn't have a next of kin, what happens?
Okay. Next of kin is subjective. A close family relative, right? A close family relative. What they do is, or an executor, even though there may not be a will, but someone, and I mean, to be honest, anyone can step up to the plate. It could actually, and also what we've got to look about is the next of kin, but also finance. So anyone can arrange the funeral or be the person that registers the death, yeah? Someone will register that death. If there is absolutely nobody, and I mean nobody, then the local authority will take care of the death.
Okay.
Simple, yeah? They'll be given a public funeral, and that means nobody, no money. Public funeral in a grave with others, because they're not the only ones, yeah? With others, buried in a type of, it's a common grave. They won't be given a headstone, although their name will be registered at the, registered at local authority as known as being buried at that cemetery. Yeah, that's if there's absolutely no one. They will try and find family. If not a neighbour. A neighbour, I've done funerals where a neighbour has had to step in and take care of the funeral and seek similar public assistance if there's absolutely nobody. But in saying that, they have people that work for the local authority that even after death will try and find out, because they want their money back, will try and find out if the person who has died had any money. Had any money to see if they can recruit their funds, all right? So quite often we have, I had a gentleman not too long ago, there's only two of them, two brothers. The first brother died, and when the first brother died, the grave was made for two. They didn't have any wife or any children, neither of them. The second brother died not too long ago, elderly gentleman, and it was a distant relative that took care of the funeral. Now, this distant relative, nice young man, trustworthy, I was able to give him a invoice, and with a death certificate, he was able to go to the bank, present it to them, and they paid me. That was for the whole funeral and the reception. Everything concerning the funeral, yeah? And that's how it works. And fortunately, this particular gentleman who died left a lot of money. He had no wife or children, and his brother who had died previously had a bit of money, and he left a very healthy bank account.
So who does the money go to?
Well, it will go to relatives, distant relatives, and he had people come over from the Caribbean for the funeral.
Okay.
They came for the funeral, and they will each receive, they'll prove who they are, I don't know how they do it, and it will be distributed accordingly. Now, whether or not he left a will, I don't know. He left a will, then that'll be straightforward. If he didn't, then he died intestate. Yeah, I don't think he owned property, so it will go through probate, and probate will distribute accordingly.
Now,
there were no wife and children.
Yeah. Tell us about the letter of wishes.
Okay, so a letter of wishes is something that we assign to a will. The letter of wishes are your wishes for your funeral. with a will, we have assets, yeah? On death, distribution of assets becomes a legal thing, yeah? That's legal. So there are rules and laws that you have to follow, all right? But in terms of a funeral, the next of kin or the people arranging don't actually have to follow your wishes. That's why it's a wish. So you may write, I want to be cremated. And they don't have to honour those wishes. You have to honour what's on the will, but you don't have to honour the wishes of the person who has died. So you can plan your funeral, you can write it down, but it is a letter of wishes. This is my wish. This is what I want to happen for my funeral. However, whoever arranges a funeral does not have to carry those wishes out. And we have that quite often. Some people say, no. We don't want a cremation. We want to bury the individual. We had a lady, I had her for 4 months. She died in December and her funeral was last month, and she wanted to be buried. There wasn't any money. There was no money available for that. And we had some people saying, we'll put together, we'll do a GoFundMe. The son abroad said, I'm going to send some money. It didn't materialise. And in the end, her work, death in service, pension, I don't know, paid, and she was cremated. So, this is another issue. We speak about honouring the dead, but we pick and choose as to when and how we honour the dead. She wanted to be buried. Granted, the money wasn't there. So she was cremated in the end. Yeah? So that's a letter of wishes. And all you do is, if you have a will, and I say to people, please, 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 you don't need to have bank accounts and assets galore. But write a will. Whatever you have, you have. Maybe a cardigan. I've seen people argue over a cardigan. I've seen people, 2 sisters fall out over a ring. Should mum be buried with her wedding ring on or not, and not speak for 20 years? Whatever you have, all right, you may think it's nothing. It makes and breaks families. Write a will. Write a will. Whatever you have, however big, however small, write a will. I mean, if you've got, assets, what you don't want is you don't want to go to probate and lose everything on the vast majority, to tax and costs and so forth. Write a will and talk to your family. Speak to your children. We're coming from a generation of people that didn't want to really share their business. I don't know if it was fair or they thought it was private or they didn't want to talk. But write a will. We're of a different generation now. And assign a letter of wishes for your funeral, because it does help the process when people know what you want, the church that you want, the type of minister that you want, the type of funeral director that you want, the type of service, the songs, the scriptures, the music, everything. Get your house in order, because it's going to happen. Yeah?
Maxine, I'm so aware of time. Is there anything, I want you to come back, because there's a whole lot more questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not able to because of the time constraints. But before I let you go, can you tell the listeners your contact details, just in case they want to contact you or talk to you about anything that you've raised on the show? And I will definitely have you come back again.
Okay, so my name's Maxine Edgar from Dash Funerals. We're over at 9090 Dagenham Road, Romford, RM70TJ. We do the whole of London and further out. We were in Ealing the other day, Hertfordshire. We're all over the place. We serve the community and every community. 0207 457 2064.
Can you give us that number again?
0203 457 2064.
Rightio.
Or 077 892 18680. Or Google frontashfunerals.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maxine, for sharing your expertise and experience in the funeral industry, and generally a subject many of us tend to shy away from. But we all have to face up to it at one point or another. And I really appreciate your time, and I hope the listeners got something, as I certainly did. What are you going to do after the show?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the 19th of April, Wednesday the 19th. We've got an event. It's an online event, Hushed Harbours, where we're talking about grief in the black community, how we mourn, the origins of our mourning from when we were enslaved, and how we mourn the way we do today. And I'm going to be working on that because it's going to be a presentation. I want people to sign up. It's free. University of Westminster, Eventbrite, you've advertised it. I am so grateful. I'm going to go and do that. I've also got to make up a dress for a Nigerian sister that I am repatriating to Nigeria. I did 2 last week. She's going off to Nigeria this week. I've got a burial dress made for her. So I'm going to the dressmaker to collect that. And I'm also seeing a couple. They've asked me, I did their father's funeral, the lady, they're renewing their vows. I did her father's funeral 2 years ago. And they've asked me to be the celebrant for their their wedding, their vow renewal. So I'm going to go and interview them later on. So, yes. And we have a 9-night tonight for someone that we know and has lost, and we'll be taking their funeral. And in between that, I'll clean my house and cook for my family and everything else.
All right.
But in everything, I just give thanks, and I'm just grateful. And thank you, Juliet.
You're most welcome. And I'll arrange
you.
a date for part 2 or part 4, whatever you want to call it. But it's part 2 for this year. Because do you know what? It was 2 years ago.
Thank you.
Do you know
and all the best to the listeners, and just
Maxine,
wishing them well.
Maxine.
Yeah.
Do you know it was 2 years ago that you was on?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I suppose. Yeah. Oh God, Juliet.
So the time
We're
is
doing
right.
well.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
So definitely.
Thank you.
I'll arrange something for a part 2. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
And
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right, love. Bye-bye. Bye.
On that note, keep it supreme with your host, Juliet G. Next week, I will be in conversation with my Teresa Young, my resident relationship master coach, who helps people to confidently achieve loving relationships. She's not only for the singletons, but she also works with couples as well. So if you want to ignite that spark, Teresa is your girl. She has a wealth of knowledge and expertise in this area. And like I say, each and every week, you don't want to miss this. So set your alarm clocks from now. Coming up next, we have Martin J till 12 noon. And from 12 noon till 2 p.m., we have La J. And 2 till 4, we have DJ Anel. And 4 till 6 p.m., we have DJ Lee. 6 till 8 p.m., we have WJ Goodgroove. And 8 till 10, we have Lloydie Banks. And 10 till midnight, we have DJ Squeaky. And midnight to 2 a.m., we have Uncle Nuts until he says so. That, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the DJ presenter lineup for this Saturday/Sunday morning on your number 1 community radio station, Supreme FM. As always, thank you to each and every one of you, whether you be a first-time listener or a regular listener. Thank you for spending the last couple of hours with yours truly. Stay tuned and be prepared to be fully entertained with the rest of the presenters for this Super Saturday on Supreme. Now, if you're not already following me on the gram, that's Instagram, it's Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, where you'll get show updates, notifications when I will go Insta live. So it's the same time next week for your Saturday morning fix. Remember, tomorrow is not promised, so love and appreciate the people who are in your lives, as you have no business worrying about those that aren't. First and foremost, look after yourself and be kind to others. It takes a village. Let's build our village and be kind to one another. Have a blessed day, have a safe day, and let's make it a memorable day. Whoever you choose to spend it with, enjoy. Yes, enjoy.
Ain't nobody stopping my shine. They try to break me, try to take me out, but I got Jesus on my side. Hurt so bad I thought I would die, but ain't no power stronger than the one that came and laid down his life. And I got mountains to climb, but the enemy can't stop me, cause there's a calling on my life. So when I'm crying, don't last too long, cause he gon' step in and make it alright. Won't he do it? He said he would. Fight your battles for you, they gon' wonder how you sleep at night. Won't he do it? Yes he will. Anybody tell you something different, you know that's a lie. You gon' look back and be so amazed how it turned out, it's only his grace. Won't he do it? He said he would. So I trust him at all times. I'm about to lose it again. I'm about to let him know where I'm from. Don't take me there again. I just call on Jesus, my friend. Get me back in line one more time, cause he's always listening. Ain't nobody perfect, everybody's hurting. Need to whisper, Lord, save me from my weaknesses, cause you're always on time. Come and get your breakthrough, cause I'm gon' get mine. Won't he do it? He said he would. Fight your battles for you, they gon' wonder how you sleep at night. Won't he do it? Yes he will. Anybody tell you something different, you know that's a lie. You gon' look back and be so amazed how it turned out, it's only his grace. Won't he do it? He said he would. So I trust him at all times. You see what the enemy planned for my downfall turned out to be the greatest victory of my life. Cause when it comes at you fast and hard, there's only one that could come and make it right. So ain't no need for stressing and crying, cause he gon' show up just like he did the last time. And the last time, and the last time, I know. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah. Said he would. Fight your battles for you, they gon' wonder how you sleep at night. Won't he do it? Yes he will. Yes he will. Anybody tell you something different, you know that's a lie. You gon' look back and be so amazed how it turned out, it's only his grace. Won't he do it? He said he would. So I trust him at all times. Won't he do it? He said he would. So I trust him at all times. Won't he do it? Yes he will. So I trust him at all times. Won't he do it? I know he will. So I trust him at all times.
Troy Taylor, you the GOAT.
Nothing feels better than to know you, and nothing's more important than to show you
that nothing comes close to what the vibe is. Nothing's more exciting than the time spent with you. No one but you can love me true. How you love me when you love me and you tell me everything is gonna be alright. Yeah, and you mean the world to me. You are my everything, and I never ever wanna know what it's like without you. I wanna wake up to you every day. I think I feel like this forever, as long as we're together. Wanna know you each and every way. I promise to be honest when I speak to you. Wanna put you at the top of my list. Wanna walk it like I talk it. Wanna give you everything. Please tell me that you're rocking with this. You know all the ways to speak to me. I like it when it's just us talking, and you don't hold it against me. That you don't really need me for nothing, but I need you for everything. And when I'm honest